If you're a writer, or you're working on a novel, or you're looking for advice on writing a book and getting published, then this is the channel for you. My name's Stephen and I'm a traditionally published author. Today I'm going to be talking about how getting an agent doesn't guarantee that you'll get a book deal. I'm going to go through some of the reasons why this happens, but equally why getting an agent is still very important and a huge step forward. Getting an agent is a massive step because the odds are actually very stacked against you. If you think about the number of people working on a novel, whenever you talk to other people, if you're a writer and people say that you're a writer, one of the most common phrases is, "Oh, one day I'm going to write a novel." And a lot of those people don't do it. However, there are thousands of people out there who are trying. Every agent receives hundreds of submissions every week and thousands every year. There are some that just won't be ready. Some of those books that are being sent in, for many reasons, they're just not up to standard. But even so, there are a lot of odds against you. So if you write a book and you send it off to an agent and they read it and they see something in it that is really good, that they like, and they think it has potential, then that is a major step forward. However, it is not the end of the story. It is only one rung on the ladder to getting published. There are many reasons why your first book that you get picked up with an agent may not be published. I recently did an interview with Andrea Stewart, I'll put a link in here, and she spoke about how she worked with her agent for a number of years on 3 novels before she was published in the last few years. The reason your first book may not get picked up by a publisher, even though an agent likes it, is something that you can't control. So let's just take it back a step. You've written this book and an agent says they like it. There's something in there that they really think has potential. What would normally happen is you would work on the book with the agent. They'd give you some feedback, some advice, and for ways to revise it for them thinking commercially. They know the market, they know the genre that you're working in, they know the segment, and they know the editors. So they all might say, you know, if it's writing a thriller, perhaps, and your book is a bit slow, they might say, okay, I want you to trim out 20,000 words, really make it really punchy and lean so that it really flies along, because that's what editors like, that's what readers like, and I think we can sell that. So you go away, you make the changes, you get the agent says, brilliant, I think this is great, and they then take it to the editors or the publishers. It may still not get picked up, and the reason for this could be any number of things. It could be that what you've written is really good, but there are a number of other books coming out that are very similar. How often have you gone to the cinema and a film comes out and a month later something else comes out and you think, oh, they were copying each other or they knew about the other project? The likelihood is they didn't. You sometimes just get these weird kind of clashes, something in the ether, something in the zeitgeist, and waves develop in films. And it's the same with books. You could write a book about, let's just say, a thriller on the moon, and 2 weeks later you see something published about a thriller on the moon. And you think, oh, you know, they stole my idea or whatever it is. It's just sometimes we're all consuming so much media, we're all coming up with ideas. Trying to come up with something completely unique and completely different is really hard. Sometimes it's in the execution. So it could be one of the reasons there's something too similar. Another reason your book might not get picked up is that it doesn't appeal to the editors. Because remember, if it goes out to say half a dozen editors, all of them are individuals with personal taste, and they can only champion a book that they like and feel passionate about in the same way as your agent. If a book comes into an agent and they think, oh, it's just not my cup of tea, I can't get behind it, then they'll say no. But the next agent can say, this is brilliant, I love it, I really like this story, it's perfect for me. That's the same with editors. They could all just say, I don't think it's right for me, and they pass. Another reason is an editor could just say, I really like it, this is brilliant, but when they take it to other people at the publishers, they look at other things that have come out similar to it, because they will, that's part of the game of how they work out advances and this sort of thing, and they could just say, it's a really good idea, but we don't think it's very commercial. It might be that they take the book on and they offer you a small advance, or they might just say, I don't think it's worth us publishing it. Once they factor in all of their costs and the process and the time taken, they might just say, it's just not right for us. And so that first book may just not go anywhere. So what would happen then? What happens if your first book isn't picked up? Well, the hard truth is you then have to work on something new. You have to start a brand new book, possibly in the same genre, more than likely. If you're trying to build and create a name for yourself in one genre, that's what you typically do. I wrote a number of fantasy books before I was picked up, and now I've got a number of fantasy books out. It's the same kind of thing. If you're trying to get into a certain genre, if you're a fan of that genre, if you're already reading lots of books within that genre and you know it, then surely that's something you're going to want to write as well. The good news is, if you get an agent and your first book isn't picked up and it doesn't go anywhere, the good news is you still have someone in your corner who knows their stuff. You have a champion, and that's basically what you want from an agent. Someone who's looked at your work and they found something in it that they love, something that they're passionate about, something that you think other people would love. And that's ultimately what you want, someone who's behind you all of the time. If that first book doesn't go anywhere, then you know it's a tough blow. Take a break, have a rest, go out and do something different, clear your mind, come back and start working on something else. You'd probably have some conversations with your agent, discuss ideas that you're thinking of developing next. They may say they favour one over the other, whatever it might be, and then you start working on that next book. You have to finish it, and then you have to send that out and start the whole process again. And it is tough. I know of a friend who wrote a fantasy book and it just didn't go anywhere. Things that were beyond his control. He then did a thriller novel that got picked up, and now he's got a number of thriller novels out. So it really depends on stuff that you just can't control, and that's probably the hardest thing to accept if you're going with the traditional publishing route. That ultimately, as good as your book is and as popular as your book might be with the agent, for whatever reason it just may not go anywhere with the editors. But with your agent, they're an expert, they'll know what's working in the market and not. So if you pitch a really radical idea, they may shoot you down really soon, or they may say, that's so unusual and so different, I've not seen anything like that before, I think it has potential. The truth is, it takes, on average, from talking to my friends who are other traditionally published authors, the time it took them to get an agent, so this was writing multiple books before they even got an agent, was anywhere from 2 to 10 years. It could then take you another couple of years to get a book from the agent that they're happy with, edited, revised, and then go out to the publishers. It could happen on your first book, your second, your third, you really don't know. But if you get an agent, as I said, the odds of getting that are really tough. So that is a huge first step, but it is not the end. And once you do get that first book, let's just say it gets picked up by the agent, they love it, it goes out to the publishers, they love it, and then they start working on it and goes into production. After a few months, 6 months, 8 months, further down the line, the editor will say to you, what are you working on next? Because part of being a writer, being a traditionally published or a self-published writer, author, is building a career, it's building up a body of work. So you always have to work on the next book. So don't get hung up on the fact that if your first book doesn't go anywhere, that's it, that's the end of it. You've seen the really big authors who have 50 books out, and not all of them are great. Sometimes you might read one of them and say, it kind of feels like they phoned it in. Maybe they were just having a bad year, things were going on, you don't know what was happening in their life, it wasn't clicking for whatever reason, but the next book could be brilliant. It's just like that, because we're all individuals and we all have lots of other stuff going on. So if you do get an agent, take heart from the fact that you've beaten the odds. A lot of other people have not succeeded, they haven't got that first major step, and it is a huge step, and it's a moment that you'll never forget. That's all I'm going to talk about today. I'll be back next week with another video.